The biggest part is the level of commitment. That's the whole point. When you've heard me talk about the difference between a mission and a dream or a mission and a goal, it comes down to that conviction and that commitment. Remember, conviction is just the blend of clarity and commitment. And when you perform and behave that way, you will be the kind of person that people want to follow because they see that you are a person on purpose. Not somebody who's got some bloviated sense of themselves, but true purpose, true connection to the actual mission itself, and somebody who will see it through no matter what. What's up, my friends? JT DeBolt with you today for the True Driven Podcast, the podcast for the few, the true, the driven, those of us who have aligned as the True Driven. And I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Thanks as always for joining me here. And by here, of course, I'm talking about Spotify and Apple Podcasts and right here on YouTube, specifically youtube.com/JT DeBolt. Thank you for all of our new subscribers and followers. Great to have you guys along the journey with us. I love YouTube because, of course, I can bring you guys new and different information, some updated stuff coming at you on a regular basis. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you can be the first to know and stay in the know when I bring you new stuff, which is coming at you on a regular basis. Today's going to be a little bit of a different concept, a little bit of a different conversation. Think of this as a call to action, call to arms. I don't care what you call it. Whatever you do, don't call this a motivational thing because it's not. It's farthest from anything motivational, maybe a kick in the ass if you want to see it that way. Coming from a place of love, though, coming from a place of genuine respect for you and the life that you were called to live. If you are not living that life, if you're not where you want to be, I want you to ask yourself one really simple, clear question. Answer this as honestly as you can. Are you playing the game all in right now? If the answer is yes, congratulations. If the answer is no, then I want you to just sort of step back and think about what life would look like. What would life be like if you went all in on yourself? Now, maybe you're all in on everything else. Maybe you're all in on your family. Maybe you are all in on your career, your business, whatever that might be. Maybe. The question, though, is, are you all in on yourself? Because you don't have to look far, and you don't even have to have been looking for very long to notice, although it's been happening for a while, that most people seem to be living a life of anything but playing the game all in. Maybe it's that they lack vision. Maybe they don't really truly believe or stand for anything. They don't stand for or against anything. They just sort of go with the flow. You see a lot of this, especially over the last maybe 4 or 5 years. People have had a tendency to become more compliant, maybe looking around for the answers, looking for other people to lead the way. Human beings are a very tribal being anyway, right? A species that loves to follow the leader, but we're kind of devoid of leadership. We don't have that true sense of strong leaders. Right now, we're in a really weird time, especially if you're watching this currently. It's coming up on an election, and everybody seems to have this notion that we're voting in leaders. Well, we seem to have lost the true essence of what that word really means. We're looking for other people to guide the way as opposed to being the guides ourselves. And I think it does come down to that. But, maybe it's that people have just lost a sense for what they stand for or what they stand against. They've lost a sense for what they would die for or what they would live for. Maybe it's out of fear. Maybe it's a fear of other people's opinions. We're so absorbed and not wanting to step on toes, not wanting to offend, not wanting to stand out, not wanting to misrepresent ourselves or other people. Well, I can't speak out because my employer says this, or I'm running a business, I'm building a brand, and I don't want to be misrepresented. I don't want a certain demographic to turn against me. That would be bad for business. That would be bad for revenue. That's the fear of other people's opinions. Maybe it's the fear of loss. You don't want to lose what you've worked so hard to build, so you think, I'll just play it soft. I'll stay out of the sandbox on this particular topic. But when you start making those concessions in one area, pretty soon you start making them in other areas. And the reality is, a true leader doesn't do that. A true leader gets very clear on their values and stays true and honest to those values at all costs. They author a vision for themselves, and they live every single day as a building block, a brick, to build that beautiful vision for themselves over the course of their lives. They commit to that mission. And of course, they operate from a true sense of purpose. But somehow we've lost that. Somehow there's been this sort of depreciation of a true sense of who we are and a true sense of our personal worth. And as leaders, we can't afford to do that. And I am challenging you. That is my rally cry today, is to find that within yourself so that you don't fall victim and start going down that path of playing a victim in this weird sort of condition that we're finding ourselves in, where we don't want to go all in on ourselves. We'd rather go all in on something else. We'd rather be able to put our best effort, the best years of our lives working for something or someone else, as opposed to putting it all in for our dreams, our goals, our vision, our mission, the things that are important to us, the things that we're building for other folks. Maybe that's your own family. Maybe that's your friends. Maybe it's your community. Whatever that looks like, no matter what the scope might be, it's important. You are important. The key to this is to be able to recognize that we are all destined for whatever we decide to create for ourselves. And you can create that. You can decide, you can author how big and how grandiose that will be. A lot of times we're like, well, I don't want to take more than is my own. We lack the prosperity consciousness, as my dear friend Frederick Lehrman calls it. The prosperity consciousness, that awareness that there is more than enough, a life of abundance, where if we build something great and amazing for ourselves, it's not taking away from another group of people or another person. I mean, unless you do it that way, I guess, unless you operate from being a complete asshole. But knowing you and knowing the nature of a true driven, you know that's not true. So the real question is, what would life look like if you went all in on what you wanted? All in on the life that you architect and create, a story you author and write on a daily basis with all the actions that you take inside any given day. Could be your best day, could be your worst day, could just be an average day. Knowing that everything you do matters. Every moment of your life is worthwhile, no matter how mundane or how exciting, no matter how awesome you create it to be, or how average and mediocre it ends up being. Everything has value. And the question there becomes, how are you creating that value and putting it out inside your scope of the world? Maybe not the world as a whole, but I would actually want to scale that one back and ask you and challenge you, is that true? Because here's the cool part. You have the ability right now to create the life that you want. And this is, again, I don't mean this as a motivational thing. I'm actually calling this a wake-up call. That's what I'm calling it. Because if you're not right now thinking and operating from a place that what you do matters, that you matter, that your intellect, your efforts, your hard work, your beliefs, the things you stand for, the things you stand against, and the energy you bring on both ends of that spectrum, if you don't think that matters, you, my friend, are asleep at the fucking wheel and you need to wake up. We need you right now. We, the world, we, your fellow true drivens. The ones who are working our asses off on a continual basis and feeling like we're walking uphill, dragging society with us. Not because we have some sort of hero complex, but because we know that it's worth fighting for. It's worth living for. It's not even about dying for something. We get so melodramatic with the shit. Well, I would die for my family. I would die for my country. I would die for this. Yeah, what the fuck would you live for? What would you live for? These are key and essential questions, things we have to find answers to. And if we're not willing to put ourselves into a fully committed behavior pattern, when I talk about living life on purpose or living life with a sense of purpose, I'm talking more than just about going with passion. I'm talking about conviction. Conviction, think of conviction like this. Conviction is a blend of confidence and commitment. You don't even have to be very confident to have conviction. But if you have a high degree of commitment to it and clarity, then guess what? It's going to trump any kind of lack of confidence that you may have at any given moment. But to the outside world, it's going to look just like confidence. They're going to say, whoa, look at that person. They're so confident. How do they do that? Well, here's how it's done. Most important thing you got to remember for yourself, and I will say this doesn't matter whether you're starting out on your journey, if you are somebody who's been doing a few laps around the sun at this for a couple of decades, it really doesn't matter. The first thing you have to do is get super clear on what it is you are actually all about, what you stand for. That's the reason you've heard me talk about your big four, your values, your vision, your mission, and your purpose. That means having the ability to detach from all the other insignificant bullshit in the world and focus solely on those things. Focus on the people you're here to serve. Focus on the mission at hand. Detach from all the other distractions. It's very easy to get distracted right now. And I think so many people are sort of feeling blown around like a leaf, a dry leaf in the wind when it comes to things going on with politics, the economy, the fucking nature of the world, the way people are treating each other, the things that are going on in a distant land. They're not even focused on what's directly in front of them. So that's the reason it's so important as leaders for us to be able to detach from that. Unplug from that shit. Give yourself a hiatus at least one day a week, if not a few hours a day, so that you can laser focus in on the things that are important. But you have to first know what is important to you. You get to decide that. And that's the cool part. That's the most important thing that leaders can do. They have to do. It's a requirement. Is to be critically thinking and crystal clear about the things that are important to you, your mission, to build that big vision for yourself. If you're just walking around living other people's priorities, answering to those priorities, then you, my friend, are not living a life as a true driven leader. Now, there is a time and place. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place where we have other responsibilities outside of our own, especially let's say you do work for someone else. Let's say you are a very valued member of a team in another business, a company, a corporation, whatever it is. And your time, effort, and energy is required to help accomplish that mission. That's a very valuable and noble thing to be a part of because it's not something that's just solely for you. But if you are building something for you, a business for yourself, something that you are the leader of, the driver of, and other people are looking to you, then you have to be detached from all the distractions. You have to be willing and capable of doing that. Not just willing, but you have to have the skills to be able to detach. And sometimes that requires the development of those skills in order to do that. It's one thing to say, hey, man, I have the desire, but man, I cannot keep myself from getting pulled away. Well, guess what? It comes down to not just drawing boundaries, but honoring boundaries. Drawing the line and saying, this is where I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand against. This is what I'm willing to not just die for. This is what I'm willing to live for. And then going all in on that. The ability to detach and focus from that is important. The second part to this is to be able to take full ownership. A lot of times what I see from people is they have a sense of, I can't do anything about it. They play a victim to it. Again, going back to that dry leaf in the wind analogy, they feel like they're just being kind of tossed about as if there's nothing that they can do. They have no sovereignty on it. They have no self-direction. And my friend, I can't tell you, there is nothing more, no bigger lie in the world than that. You have the ability to plant your feet in the ground, ground yourself simply by saying, I own this. This is mine. I will take this on right now 100%. Now, does that mean that everything is your fault? No. What it means is you find those areas that you have control over and influence, and you focus solely on that. Shit's going to happen, man. Bad news is going to happen. Sadness, heartbreak is going to happen. The question is, are you going to allow it to run you over, or are you going to get back up in the saddle and get back in the game? Owning and accepting your role in that situation and having the conviction, again, that clarity and that commitment to the mission, the conviction to know you must do that. That's part of taking ownership. The next part to this, of course, is, you've heard me say this before, is it's all about embracing the suck, meaning recognizing that there is going to be some really tough, challenging parts to this. It's not easy to take the path of personal excellence. In fact, it's the exact opposite. In some cases, it's almost like part of the deal. Part of the whole point is to put yourself in the pathway of pain. I've said this, you've probably heard me say it before. Pain is the pathway. Doesn't mean that everything in life has to be misery. Everything in life doesn't have to be suffering. Everything in life doesn't have to be drama. That's not what we're talking about. When we say pain is the pathway, we're simply stating, where is it that we lean into the difficult times, the challenging times, in order to find our true essence of who we really are? Strip it down and get rid of all the fluff and all the bullshit. Take the mask off. Instead of trying to cover up and put some fake smile on it and paint everything to be positive, we're willing to look at things objectively and actually appreciate difficulty. Because life is difficult, especially if you're going after something spectacular. If you're going to go all in, when I challenged you with that question at the top of the podcast, the question is, what would life look like if you went all in? Part of that had better have come with a realization that life at times is going to be fucking challenging and hard and difficult. The pursuit of something significant, something important, always comes with that price of us having to outgrow the current version of ourselves, to strip away and decrease the weakness and the inabilities that we have. Get rid of and lean into the insecurities. Be willing to accept that we don't have all the answers, that we don't know all of the things yet, that we haven't refined the skills yet, and actually embrace that. Being willing to receive the pain, the frustration, the disappointment, the discomfort as a very important ingredient in what will become the most spectacular recipe of life ever. The ability to not just be able to detach and focus on the things that are important, the ability to take ownership knowing that only we can do that for ourselves, but also the ability to see what it is that has to be done and embrace that. The hard work, the difficult work, the unrewarding stuff, sometimes the mundane. The part of it that it feels completely frustrating at times. Part of it when you look over here and you go like, well, what the hell is required of me? And being able to do those things. What does that look like? Train, work, risk. The ability to commit yourself to the process, not just the result. When we say going all in, yeah, it's important to understand what it is we're working for, what we're working toward. But realizing that it's not just about the rewards and the spoils of success. Sometimes the actual result is the work itself. Sometimes it's the ability to keep going and going and going and putting another rep in, putting another rep in, putting another rep in, putting another set of reps in. Being so bored, but actually being excited with that boredom. Being comfortable in the pain. being grateful for the suck and embracing it. That's the true measure of what it takes to go from being where you're at to where you want to be, especially if it's a place of discomfort, but also kind of just sort of like, I'm done with this. When you get to a place where you're disenfranchised with your current reality, when you say, I want more, I want better, and I know I can do this, not that I deserve better, but that I'm willing to earn better. When you're in that place, my friend, you are unfucking stoppable. You're one of the most powerful things on the planet because you have finally tapped in to that energy. Call it from the universe, God, whatever you believe in, that is guiding you, chiding you, pushing you, putting its finger in your chest, waking you up, saying, please, I have given you this golden opportunity. Now seize it. That's what it takes. And if this sounds crazy to you, if this sounds woo-woo, guess what? Maybe you needed to fucking hear this. We all do. Fuck, I need to hear this. I'm sharing this with myself as much as I'm sharing it with you because we as true drivens have a true responsibility and an opportunity right now to seize some of the greatest times of our entire existence on this planet. If we're willing to fucking do this, if we're willing to go all in. But yeah, it's sometimes we're going to have to train our asses off. We're going to have to work and we're going to have to risk. Entrepreneurs out there, you know that risk is part of the game. Sometimes you lose when you risk, but you always have to risk in order to win. Winning is always comes at the tail end of risk. Winning something significant. Risk is always a part of winning. Sometimes you lose. But guess what? That is part of the thing. That when you actually look at that and embrace that as part of the recipe, it's not that big of a deal anymore. You've factored it in because you know that, yeah, you might lose occasionally. It doesn't make you a loser. We've talked about this in past episodes. It makes you a contender. And that's what a true driven is, a contender on the path to personal excellence. That's the true definition of it. The only other part to this is you got to commit. You got to go all in. Not kind of partially, not kind of sort of, not kind of when you feel like it. Fucking all in. All in means all in. Imagine this. You cannot jump off of a high dive and be halfway through the air and be all in. Like you're in. You left the platform. Your feet hit the water. You're in the water now. You're all in. If your head's up out of the water, you're still all in. You took the step off the safety of the high dive and now you are in the water. That's the level of commitment you have to have as a true driven and as a leader. People will follow you into the gates of literal hell if you have that conviction. Conviction is that mix of clarity and confidence, but also that clarity and commitment. The confidence piece is going to be what they experience it as. You may not feel confident. You may be in the deepest depths of self-doubt. But because you have the clarity of the direction you're headed, what's required to get there, or at least the path you're on, the path, taking the steps, that demonstrates clarity, and you're doing it with a sense of commitment, that conviction will be experienced by other people as confidence, even if you're not feeling confident. So here's the deal. Don't strive for confidence, strive for conviction. If you want to up your influence and leadership, strive for conviction, not confidence. Confidence is bullshit. People can sometimes see through it, but they will also perceive confidence in the way that you show up, especially if you have clarity on the direction you're going, not where you are saying to yourself, this is the only way. You know, not coming from a place of certainty, clarity. Certainty is for amateurs. We'll talk more about that in a future podcast. Clarity is for professionals. Clarity with commitment is conviction. And that's what people will follow. They'll actually experience that as confidence. If you want to go all in, if you are that person that has decided that you are going to go all in, now is the time. But you're going to have to remind yourself of it every single day. Number one, you got to be super clear on what the fuck it is you actually stand for, stand against, what you are willing to not just die for, but actually live for. Live full out. Does that make sense? Live full out. You got to be able to detach from everything else that detracts from you being able to execute on that and focus solely on what's important, focus solely on the priorities. And that includes the people you are leading, the people you are doing this for. Next, probably one of the biggest things you got to take is ownership. The ability to take ownership that you are the one driving this. You are the one that's making it happen. You are the one that's making it happen and making it so. The next part is to embrace the suck, because it's going to get tough, right? So when we talk about fully in, all in, that is not just the good times. It's not just when things are going great. Friday afternoon, 5 p.m., kicking it back with your homies, having a few beers. Not just those times. It's the times when they're out doing that and you're still in the office making shit happen. Embracing the suck, doing it when you're tired, doing it when you're sick, doing it when you're sore, doing it when you're heartbroken. Embrace the suck. Then it's the commitment to the full process, the training, the work, the iterations, the mistakes, the accidents, the failures, the comebacks, the risks, and the rewards. The biggest part is the level of commitment. That's the whole point. When you've heard me talk about the difference between a mission and a dream or a mission and a goal, it comes down to that conviction and that commitment. Remember, conviction is just a blend of clarity and commitment. And when you perform and behave that way, you will be the kind of person that people want to follow because they see that you are a person on purpose. Not somebody who's got some bloviated sense of themselves, but true purpose. True connection to the actual mission itself, and somebody who will see it through no matter what. That's what it means to be all in, and that's what it means to be a true driven. And that's what we need from you today and every single day. So if you're in on this, share this message far and wide, especially with others who right now desperately need to hear it. And trust me, my friend, there are millions, maybe billions who do. So let's bond together. Let's bond together here. And let's make this thing happen today and every single day. And remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. Stay driven.